I would have had the real clip of this, so we gonna shout out to the brother that did this because David Robinson is one of them boys. David Robinson is one of them boys. Hold on, let's turn this down. This shit kind of loud. Hold on.
A world full of insane athletic transformations, David Robinson stands alone at the top. As a high school junior, he stood at just 5'9". As a college freshman, he was
What the fuck, bruh? That's crazy. He one of them boys too. He was 5'9" in high school. That's crazy. David Robinson, bruh. He one of them dogs.
just 6'8", but as an NBA superstar, he stood at 7'1". A transformation that, in an ironic twist of fate, cost him 2 years of his basketball career and almost ended his career before it started. How is that possible? How was David Robinson almost too tall for the NBA? So what's up, guys? Mike here, and yes, that is correct. Somehow, David Robinson, a former #1 pick and current Hall of Famer, really was almost too tall to even play in the NBA. And I'm gonna just be honest here, you are in for a wild ride, I will say, because
we have to get to it.
I want to immediately bring up that David Robinson is not only one of the 4 players to ever record a quadruple double, not a triple double, a quadruple double in an NBA basketball.
Hold on, ain't Draymond supposed to be on this? I think Draymond got a quadruple double. Hold on, they playing my boy. I ain't gonna let him play you, Draymond.
Game, but he is also one of just 2 players in NBA history that have led the league in scoring and won the Defensive Player of the Year award in the same season. The only other man to lead the league in scoring and win Defensive Player of the Year in the same season was Michael Jordan. We will get more into that story. It involves a
Did I say that in time? Hold on, I think I said that in time. No,
70-point game from David Robinson, but going even further here, let's talk about an NBA player's prime. Because I would say that while of course every player is different, the 7 seasons between the ages of 24 and 30 are really an elite sample size for comparing the primes of NBA legends. To show you what I mean, only 11 players in NBA history have averaged at least 25 points per game and 11 rebounds per game between the ages of 24 and 30. All 11 of the players you see are either in the Hall of Fame or will be, including David Robinson, who already is. The thing is though, digging even deeper into this list, you might notice that David Robinson is 3rd behind just Wilt and Kareem in total win shares during this span of time. He is ahead of much larger names such as Shaq or Charles Barkley or Moses Malone. And what's even more interesting is the fact that if we add in just one more factor, at least 3 blocks per game, this list of 11 Hall of Famers suddenly shrinks to just 2. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and David Robinson. Pretty impressive. I think we all have to admit it should be talked about a lot more, and I would also like to say that at one point the sky was the limit for David Robinson. There was a time where David was seen as the modern day version of Bill Russell, and I emphasize modern there. As was it mentioned before, David Robinson spent his entire life up until the age of 16 thinking that he was going to be an average height, and that is it. David did not plan on playing any organized basketball at that point, including high school. He was just excited to become an engineer.
Damn, he didn't play hoop in high school? That's crazy.
And actually told Sports Illustrated later in college that he was fine staying at Navy, even if it meant he was not able to play in the NBA until his Navy commitment was over, because he was excited to do other things. And if you forgot, well, here is where the too tall title comes into play. Because here's a list of all of the most incredible growth spurts that we have ever seen from an NBA basketball star. And on this list, David Robinson stands alone. You may know some of, if not most of these stories, such as Michael Jordan growing 7 inches and becoming the greatest player to ever live, or Anthony Davis growing 8 inches and becoming the #1 recruit in America after rocking rec specs a little too much, or
wow, bruh. From 5'9" to 6'6", that's crazy. From 5'9" to 6'7", from 5'10" to 6. Damn.
Even as we keep going, we find CJ McCollum.
Ginobili went from 5'5" to 6'6". Bruh, what the hell? That's like you got to keep playing. 6'2" to 6'3". I mean 5'2" to 6'3". Bruh, CJ McCullough went crazy. Side note, he played for the Pelicans now? I'm hella behind.
Had no business playing in the NBA when he was just a 5'2" freshman, but after growing 13 inches, he's become a 20-point per game scorer in the NBA at 6'3". What I feel like never ever gets mentioned.
What the fuck? What the fuck, bruh? This nigga David Robinson went from 5'9", that's my height, 5'9", to 7'1". That's crazy, bruh. What the
is that David Robinson not only grew an insane, is insane even the right word here? We need a better one. One of a kind, ridiculous 16 inches
crazy.
From the time he was a junior in high school to when he finally played in the NBA. And somehow, when we look past the paper, when we look past that number of 16 inches, things get even crazier. Because most of these guys had one growth spurt that launched them into the NBA career that they have now. Russell Westbrook grew 7 inches and he became an MVP point guard. LeBron James grew 8 inches in high school and is now in the GOAT conversation with Michael Jordan. Zion Williamson grew 9 inches and disappeared off the face of the earth. All of these players had their growth spurt and that was it. By the way, guys, Robinson almost lost out on his entire NBA career was that he had both an insane growth spurt in high school and then in college just never stopped growing. It was also somewhat of a problem that as a high school senior, after he had grown from 5'9" to 6'6", he still never had played any form of organized basketball. As David himself remembers, I didn't even notice how fast I was growing. It just seemed that more and more people were looking at me and saying, man, you must play basketball. These people were seemingly all basketball experts, as playing basketball was definitely the right move for David Robinson long term, but even as a senior in high school, no one was really recruiting David other than Navy. But that was great for David. He loved the idea of a guaranteed job out of college, and so David Robinson would join the U.S. Naval Academy, where he would of course go on to become the greatest player Navy has ever seen. The problem at the time though was that even Navy almost did not let David Robinson attend their school, let alone play basketball. The reason being that the height limit for a freshman entering the Naval Academy at the time was 6'6". However, exceptions could be made and 5% of the incoming freshman class could be as tall as 6'8". David barely squeaked by with that exception, as already by the time he stepped foot on a basketball court for Navy as a freshman player, he now stood at around 6'8" to 6'9". There was still no real problem here, as David didn't care about the NBA, and why would he? He wasn't considered an NBA prospect by a single person on earth. Himself, his coach, his dad.
It's crazy. You didn't even get... Nobody think you finna play basketball. You just started playing basketball yesterday, bro. You're lucky to be here. Your height got you here purely.
Everyone included. Again though, somehow David Robinson just never stopped growing. As after an okay freshman year, his coaches were shocked to see that when David Robinson returned to play his sophomore season, he had not only grown another 2 inches, but had also put on 20 pounds of muscle and now was an unstoppable beast. Robinson's rise to stardom,
he put on 20 pounds of muscle, not
from his freshman to sophomore season was both unexpected and extreme. As a freshman, David Robinson averaged 7.6 points, 4 rebounds, and 1.3 blocks per game, and not a single person related to the NBA knew his name. Just one season later, in an era where, remember, college basketball stars normally stayed at least 3 if not 4 seasons, which meant the competition was much tougher. David Robinson, as a sophomore, would average 23.6 points, 11.6 rebounds, and 4 blocks per game. 4! To really put this into perspective, let's take a look at the guys.
He out there monster on the court. What? 4 blocks a game? That's disrespectful. That's when everybody stayed and played too.
We have already looked at in terms of growth spurts, and let's see how much they improved from their freshman season in college to their final season in college. Now, of course, guys like Zion and Anthony Davis only played in 1 year, but that's kind of the point here. They were already established stars. It is very, very clear that out of everyone we have already talked about, David Robinson not only had the craziest physical transformation, but also on the court. Look at this difference. The only player that even comes close to David is Tim Duncan, who coincidentally helped a veteran David Robinson win an NBA championship with the Spurs. But even Tim Duncan
and Tim Duncan did the same thing though. Tim Duncan didn't play basketball until college too. He was like a swimmer or some shit like that.
Is just not close. David Robinson's story is one of one, simple as that. Especially when you consider that even after all of this, after David Robinson did emerge as a star at Navy, after he was considered the consensus #1 pick in the draft, there was no guarantee that he was ever going to play in the NBA, or if he did, it would probably be too late to develop into the player he would eventually become. The reason I say this is that David Robinson played at Navy, and while he was the best player that Navy has ever had, he led them to an Elite 8, their greatest postseason success ever, and also still easily holds the most records out of every player who has ever played at Navy. At the end of the day, the United States Naval Academy is just that, a naval academy with a 5-year commitment to the Navy after you graduate, no exceptions, nothing. This was and this is the Navy. They don't care about things like you are a basketball superstar. They care about the fact that you made a commitment to the Navy, which meant if the Navy did not want to make an exception for David Robinson, which they could just not have, he would have had to wait an entire 5 years to play in the NBA, and there is no getting out of that. You can't break a commitment with the Navy. That is literally treason. Luckily for NBA fans, in a twist of fate, while David Robinson's late growth spurt almost kept him out of the NBA, his final height is what got him there. Navy did agree to cut their normal 5-year commitment down to just 2 years, in part because there is a reason that Navy has a height limit. David Robinson was set to become an unrestricted line officer after he graduated, which meant that he was eligible for command at sea of Navy's war-fighting units. That included war-fighting units such as submarines and warships. At 7'1", that just simply was not going to happen, and so the Navy and David Robinson came to a compromise. David Robinson would not miss 5 years, but he still would miss 2 years in the NBA, as he did make a commitment to the Navy, and he was okay with that. David Robinson felt that this was more than fair. As an exchange for this compromise, Robinson would go on to serve 2 years of active duty with the Civil Engineering Corps, and then after his active duty was up, he would then become a spokesman for Navy recruiting in general, not basketball, and for Navy's anti-drug campaigns. So in the end, everyone was able to get what they wanted here, which is great. And of course,
that's crazy, bruh. That's crazy, man. That nigga had to miss a couple of years because he fucked with the Navy, but the growth spurt is ridiculous, bruh. All right. Shout out to everybody tapped in, came through, participated, all that good shit. You feel me? You already know how we get down in here. Until next time, shit. Make sure you tap in with the captain.